right. So chapter 2, we have the Magi, the wise men, because the 3 wise men is just like we know, right? The 3 wise men show up in the stable with the shepherds, and they're there with the cows and the pigs. That's how it happened, right, Micah?
Exactly
that way.
Not at all. Not at all.
Well, wait. That wasn't the Matthew I read. But
yeah. The Magi came much, much later. And as Matthew indicates, it's sometime between birth and 2 years old. The indication is closer to 2, but probably not quite yet. It's a year and a half. But yeah, we don't know how many there are. We don't know exactly where they're from. There's been a lot of guesses over the years, some pretty good ones, but nothing solid. There's really no extra biblical details that give us more.
Now,
but
why is
we know
that
these?
Why is that we have all these stories? Why is it we have the stories like Christmas? You have the nativity, and the wise men are always there in the nativity. Why is that?
It fits.
Well, it's all Francis of Assisi's fault. He was trying to do a nativity, and so he just put everything in the stable, and he's like, there you go. Everybody can see it now. And we've been doing them that way ever since. So blame, Middle Ages church fathers for changing up the way we tell the nativity, and makes for a great story. It makes for a good play, but because you don't want to have 2 Jesuses floating around, one little boy and one baby.
The infant, and then
but it definitely messes up. Yeah, it definitely messes up the way people perceive it, because the visual is more powerful than the written word. So unless they're imagining the way it's written, it might be problematic because they saw it this way, but it's reads differently. So, but yeah, plus we put it on Christmas cards and wrapping paper and just about everything else too.
So these guys were from somewhere in the East.
Yes. There's a lot of
not Connecticut, or
a lot of speculation
Rhode
whether
Island.
they're from multiple places. Yes. No. Most likely somewhere along Babylon, Assyria, along the Euphrates River, or even down into Persia, or India is the farthest that people will estimate, just because that's sort of the edge of the Greek Empire. So it would be, outside of the normal, but you wouldn't be absurd for them to show up. I always like the Daniel Babylon connection, but again, it's more speculation than anything else. There's really not a solid biblical or even extra biblical reason for it. But they obviously were students of the stars, either as court appointed or on their own, as astrologers or as astronomers. Depends on exactly where they're from. So again, we don't really know how much, but they saw something in the stars that they said, we must leave and go worship the birth of this child. And that's a pretty impressive statement. They knew enough, either from their histories or from reading abroad, to know that there was something special about a projected king of Israel, and his birth being announced in the stars was significant enough for them to make a journey that probably lasted them, with the planning and the time of actual travel, we're talking a year to year and a half. They didn't necessarily, get on their camels the next day and head out. We don't even know if they rode camels. But, they would have, had to you figure out, like, are we going to leave, start packing? Because they're traveling across a large distance. You're going to need to have food with you. You're going to have, you're not stopping at McDonald's. You're going to be putting up camps. So you're going to need tents. You're going to need money for expenses. And so this was not a quick trip. They spent some time doing, and it shows that they were very moved by what they saw, and they thought it was important enough to get up and go worship this child. Which is the other element, is they're not just showing up saying, go ahead, Larry.
I was going to say there's nothing really says there were just three of them, which is another conception that people have. Because I know that the song plays a part in that, as well as the fact that there were three gifts. But there's nothing to say that there were, just as there's more than one. And there could have easily been 7 or more, as far as that goes, easily more than 3. And just like you said, as far as that goes, I find it fascinating even for today, where we don't see this kind of commitment, but we do. There's a lot of people that are called to the ministry, and as far as that goes, and they pretty much lay down a lot, or even missionaries, and go off and do things similar to what these guys would have done, because you were talking about the expense that they would have to spend for it. But even today, there's people out there that are in ministry that are doing the same thing, basically throwing down everything, basically to pursue God. And I can see a lot of that in parallel with what, like I said, with what the story's telling about these guys being wise men or kings, and basically giving up a lot of time, giving up a lot of money just to come to see the Messiah. So
yes,
but
definitely.
Yeah, that's a good point.
My question to you,
there's
though,
associated cost there. Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Was because they were so far away, did they follow the Bible? Did they read it? Did they know about it? How did they know that he was to be born a king?
That's a good question. Again, it's sort of something that's best, the best we got is speculation, but yeah, most people believe they had some understanding of the Jewish Bible, which is sort of why the whole Daniel connection is popular, because it would make sense that Daniel would have passed on that information. But they obviously had a understanding of the Jewish Bible, which is unique because if they understood Greek stories, that'd be one thing. If they understood Roman stories, that'd be another thing. Like, these were empires that conquered the world. But to understand the Jewish story is not that big in this realm of empires and stuff. It's not something people just sat around and studied. They were, this small little nation over there that always had interesting stories coming out of them, but not necessarily world empires that people are like, oh, I need to know about this because it's impacting me.
Yeah, I realized that they were astrologers, so they followed the stars, they followed what was going on in there. And it also says that after they visited the child, then an angel of the Lord appeared to them, told them not to go back. Was there any other connection to that before they started on their journey? Did they learn about that after?
We have no idea. Again, you could speculate on it, but literally what we know about the Magi is what Matthew records here. It's pretty simple, pretty basic. Even the term he uses for them is sort of vague. It's not like it indicates, specifics to where they're from or what even their occupation in particular was. It's more of a general sense of, they students of the stars type thing, magicians in a way. But their reaction and how they responded, there seems to be an understanding of God's plan, God's promises, and their they don't seem to be Jewish because of the way they're portrayed. So it's not like they're, Jewish people who have settled elsewhere and are coming to meet the Messiah. It's not like, later we have Barnabas who was from Crete. Well, it's not like that. They're portrayed as a non-Jewish people coming to worship the Jewish Messiah.